Chris Miles, all 6 feet 11 inches of him, back in Studio B with hot takes, including his on moral victories. Before we get to that, Chris, were you more encouraged or discouraged after last night's game for BYU?
I was very much encouraged. So BYU fans and the team and the coaching staff, we all love big games, right? We love games that are exciting. Probably the most energy that's been in the Marriott Center in quite a while. The bench is fired up and they're waving towels. That's what we all want, okay? And so from a standpoint that they were challenged and had to elevate themselves in a new way, completely unique to this team, I was very much encouraged.
We've been having some fun with the moral victories from last night's game. BYU's a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, essentially. They're taking on number one. They're not supposed to win the game, but there were some nice things that happened. What did you think of BYU's performance last night?
So the game, the first half went how I expected.
You expected BYU to go down like 19 in the first half?
It could go one of two ways, okay? Either they put up a really good fight in the first half and then lose steam, or they struggle and they get used to the situation, they get used to the intensity, they get used to the level of play, and then they improve in the second half. So I expected one of those two things to happen.
Gotcha.
But I'm very much encouraged because they made adjustments. By the scoreboard, they won the second half. Is Mark Few happy about that? Probably not, to be realistic. Yes, I'm sure he's happy to come into the Marriott Center and get a win. But was he happy to have this young Cougar squad outscore them in the second half? I don't think he's very happy about that. And I think these guys should be really, really proud because they did battle the whole game. Lots of errors, there were a lot of mistakes that show that they are a young team. But overall, they played really, really well. They battled, they made adjustments, and they improved, and that's a really good sign.
Former BYU center Chris Miles with us in Studio B, BYUtv sports basketball analyst for us on BYUSN. What are your overall thoughts on moral victories, Chris, specifically to a game like this against the number one ranked team?
Moral victories are more painful than losses.
It means you lost when you're talking about moral victories.
Absolutely, man. When you're trying to find something to latch onto to feel good about yourself, ultimately, we're covering up some serious pain.
Welcome to our lives and the show.
So here's my thoughts on moral victories. Is there such a thing? No, you can't. As a player, you can't take them. But you can take improvement, you can take progress, and there was definite progress during this game. I mean, there's positive things to take away from this game, 100%.
I
There's
feel
different
like
wrapping paper.
Yeah.
Some is called moral victories. Others are phrased differently, I think.
Yeah. I feel like the team, genuinely, everybody that I talked to after the game last night, they were motivated. I mean, they were excited to go
Sure.
play again. And it's because they got a taste. And you referenced, I thought you said it beautifully. They got used to the level of play,
Yeah.
and then they realized we can compete at this level.
Correct.
It just takes time, right?
They've needed to see this. They've needed it, and all teams do. When I played here, every game that was a really big, challenging game, when we played North Carolina, when we played Wake Forest, you get to see something that you don't always get to see, and you get to find something within yourself that you don't always find. It takes something. And so, I absolutely love it. I love these types of games, and I think it helps you find out who you are and will change and help you define yourself as a team and as individuals as you go through the season.
Nick Emery was sick, and it was obvious. He played 20 minutes somehow, though. He went 1 for 6, had 2 points. What role did his illness play in the game, in your opinion?
Well, it certainly didn't look like it slowed him down at all. My only complaint about Nick's game last night, truthfully, would be the 2 steals that he had in the 2 steal attempts that he had in one possession where he commits 2 fouls. Learn your lesson the first time, Nick. We all love you. We love your intensity. We love your energy. But you make one mistake. Don't make the exact same mistake again immediately after, because then you have to play mentally reserved. Then you have to kind of make some changes and alterations, and your team needs you. So don't make those mistakes where you have to shift where you are mentally in the game.
Chris Miles with us in Studio B, former BYU basketball center. At what point in a game like this with a high-profile team do nerves go away and it just becomes about being in the game and utilizing the crowd to your benefit instead of being worried about the crowd?
Nerves go away when you have some success and you get some momentum, and so TJ had a fantastic game last night. I think we're all really proud of TJ. Took a couple shots, rushed a couple shots, but made a lot of big shots, and some of those shots were well contested. So, he came out and gave them a spark and gave them confidence, and I think for the most part that's when a lot of their nerves started to go away.
Eric Mika, this was a big game for him in terms of the spotlight, the opportunity. It's tough when it's Karnowski, and then it's Collins, and then it's Tilley, right? So Mika goes 5 for 15, 15 points, 11 rebounds. What did you think of his performance?
So, he definitely didn't get any breaks. What I personally think about Eric, he's been so successful all season long from about 12 feet out. This is a game where I would have liked to see him post up right under the basket, seal his guy, fight with his guy. The closer you are to the basket, the more pressure there is on your defender. And the further you are away from the basket, the more pressure there is on you. So he's been very, very successful. But, if he forced a couple possessions where he's posting up right underneath the rim, they were helping off. They weren't wanting to guard him one-on-one. They were helping off. And so as they send players down to help out on Eric, it's going to open up the floor for his teammates to make more outside shots. So I think personally, two things could have won this game for BYU. They needed to play a little bit better defense overall. Gonzaga's, as Mark Few put it, best leader that he's ever coached, had a tremendous game and was relentless for his team offensively. They needed to, I think Eric or somebody should have been there to help off a little bit to slow him down. But personally, I think that if Eric was posting up directly under the rim a lot more of this game. He's so good with his right hand, with his left hand. He can hook with either hand. He's good at twisting and finishing in complicated ways and getting fouled, and then he's a great free throw shooter. So if he's right underneath the basket, I think they have to draw enough help from their guards where they might have won this game. They might have been able to.
And that's tough because Eric has been successful, as you pointed out, from 10 to 12
Correct.
feet. So
they weren't dropping
if
last
a couple
night.
of shots go in, maybe the confidence level is a little bit different, and it opens him up to be able to get a little bit lower in the post and seal his guy up. But yeah, just it's a fine line, right?
Against Karnowski, I thought that Mika could take advantage of that mid-range jumper, but Karnowski's so long too. That's a tough matchup for Mika, but still ended up with 15 points.
Yeah, and sometimes shooting a mid-range jumper, when you have that much energy, when you have that much emotion and adrenaline, it can be a little bit harder to shoot the mid-range game. And so sometimes it's better, you have that extra adrenaline. Your team needs you for a floor spacing purpose to be a little bit closer underneath the basket. And if he scores a couple inside, right under the rim, I think it might make it a little bit easier. And hey, if they send 2 and 3 guys, just keep kicking it out. Be unselfish for this one. You're a great player. You can do 20 and 10 every single night, but find a way to win. That's ultimately what it's about. And so Eric's such a great player, it's hard to be critical of him, but I think that if he had been catching the basketball 2 feet from the rim, I think it would have changed the game a lot.
No question. Early in the game, if you make a couple of layups, it calms a player down and a
Correct.
team for that matter.
Absolutely.
And he picked up a foul in the first 2 minutes, so I think that affected his aggression level. He didn't want to get to maybe fifth gear and draw a foul.
I agree. Yeah, and so that's another reason why I say, hey, if you're catching the ball directly underneath the basket, it puts a lot more pressure on the defender. You're going to get way more calls your way if you're that close to the rim because you did your homework, you got to your position early. Another thing that I really would have liked to see from Eric and from the other guards, BYU sets a lot of ball screens. But particularly last night, and honestly for most of the season, there's no spacing on their ball screen. What I mean by that is if you start 15 or 20 feet away from the guy that you're setting the screen on, if you can outrun your guy, so you're sprinting against him essentially, and you can have 10 or 10 feet would be great, 15 would be even better, but if you can get 10 feet of space, all of a sudden that ball screen becomes a 2-on-1, and they're scrambling to try and catch up with you, and now they gotta bring guys up from the corners to try and help. Every screen that they seemed to set at the top of the key last night, it was just a 2-on-2. There was no extra spacing. There was no gaps. They defended the pick and roll really, really well, and I think that it stifled us offensively a little bit.
All right, I want some rapid fire questions. You don't need to justify any of these. Just answer true or false.
'Kay.
Okay?
Okay.
True or false, BYU will beat St. Mary's in Provo.
True. I want them to, so it will be done. we're gonna will it to success.
Okay? True or false, Nigel Williams-Goss will be the West Coast Conference Player of the Year.
Ooh. Eric, I love you. Go. Here's what I want to happen. Okay, so I'll qualify him just a little bit. Eric, go lead this team to a win at Gonzaga, and I want Eric Mika to be the Conference Player of the Year.
Okay, it would take a win at Gonzaga.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Wow.
BYU's won twice in a row.
Okay.
Any other rapid fire? Or those
No, that's good.
That's good. Okay, let's talk about another rapid fire. Will BYU get a win against Portland tomorrow night?
Yes. They will.
Hot take!
That was the toughest question. No, I'm just kidding.
They're fired up.
Yeah,
They got
absolutely.
energy. This is going to be a good game for them.
And tomorrow night, that with the win, Dave Rose would have 300 wins at BYU. What makes him such a winning coach?
So Dave, at his profession, is one of the most consistent personalities in college basketball. He brings it every single day in practice. He brings it to every single game. We've all seen timeout after timeout after timeout where he has more energy than any of the players do for either team, right? That's Dave Rose, and that's why I love him, and that's why we love him. Another thing that makes Dave really, really great that maybe people from the outside can't see because they don't get to witness it is when Dave is in film, he's amazing, okay? He gets and understands his players mentally and emotionally. He gets to understand what motivates you as an individual, and then he ties you together in a remarkable way. When I played here at this school, it was probably the most impressive thing about the program to me was how well Dave was able to get us on the same page, and we bought in, but he's truly a remarkable coach at motivating and seeing what you bring to the table and getting you to enjoy that.
Chris Miles, former BYU center and BYUtv sports basketball analyst on BYUSN.
And
Great
a
to have you,
lumberjack
man.
on the
Yeah,
side.
It's
Crazy, right?
Flannel Friday.
Flannel Friday.
Thanks, Chris.
Is it too early for flapjack, Spencer?
I would love some.
It's the day
flapjacks
after
right
Groundhog
now.
Day, but I tried to sneak that.
It's cold outside.